Alright, so this is the tutorial to create your UV mapping or UV layout. So here I'm just going to use this mech here. So you can see it's a bunch of pieces. So the first thing I would tell you to do is just make sure that it is a bunch of pieces. It could be, and I know a lot of times you do this and sometimes it's easier to model, it could be that you have your objects combined. So like when I select this, see how these are all combined as one object? It'd be easier and better for you, especially with this type of modeling, to actually keep them as separate. So you just click the two sheets of paper here, or just go mesh, separate, okay? So that they're separate pieces, okay? So all of this should be separate. Okay, after that's done, the next thing I'm going to do is grab everything. I'm going to go to, let me just show you real quick. So I'm going to go to Windows, UV Editor, okay? And that's going to be right over here like this. You can see it has a ton of pieces, right? And you can see they're kind of scattered all over the place. And I click on one and see it's not good. Yours is probably like big and hairy and all over the place. But the UVs are not good as they're currently standing. So we need to fix that. So first thing I'm going to do is select all of this. I'm going to go to UV, and I'm just going to do automatic. Now that might take a little bit of time, but basically what it's going to do is it's going to try to do the best that it can to lay those out. So I'm going to pause it while it's calculating that because there's just so many pieces. So now you can see the UVs are kind of all over the place, but if I click go to object mode, you will see now how each one of these is now taking up the entire space. And it fits much nicer, all right? To a large extent, this actually will probably work for most of your parts. But if you want to do a nicer job, you would want to clean this up and have it look a little bit better. So I'm just going to clean up a couple of them so you kind of see what I'm saying. So for instance, if I look at this piece here, right? Some of them are really obvious. So if you look at this guy here, this one would be really good. I'm at Shift-I just so you can, okay, Shift-I. There it goes. Okay, so you can see it. So it's more or less a cylinder, right? So things that are really obvious, that are clearly a certain kind of shape, even if it was an oval, it's still kind of, you know, like an ellipse. It's still basically a cylinder. So what I can do is this. I can go to face. Okay, let's try it again. Face. Oh, sorry, I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm gonna hold tab, which doesn't apparently. Okay, let's go Q, tab. There it goes. All right, tab. There we go. So I'm gonna paint this selection in here, okay? So I'm gonna select all the pieces that are not part of that key. Oh, okay, that was interesting. Okay, that, and obviously these as well. Okay, good. So I got all those selected. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Shift and click. Okay, so apparently that paint selection got stuck on. I don't really know how to get that back off. Okay, I'm gonna hold Shift and click. Neat. Okay. So hang on one second. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold Shift, click and drag over the whole object, and you'll see it'll invert my selection, right? So now I got that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to UV and I'm gonna go cylindrical, and it's gonna make it look like that. All right, so this isn't exactly the orientation I want it. So there's a little red T here. I'm going to click on that, and then you'll see this rotation and scale and stuff pops up. I'm going to click on it again because it disappeared. Then I'm going to click on this part here, which will make this rotation part. Because see how the orientation of this is going this way? I need it to be going around it, right? Right now it's not. So if you look over here, you can actually see it looks really weird. So for some reason this keeps resetting, which is really interesting. So then I'm just going to click on this one. And basically, if I hold J, I'm going to hold J while I do it. So I'll do an increment. All right, so I'll make it 90 degrees. And then if you look over here, it looks beautiful. It's nice and like it should be. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and scale this puppy down roughly to the length and whatever that I think. All right, and these look good because see how they're already kind of flat in the same direction as this? But if for some reason I did need to select these, what I could do is over here, go to face, go click and drag over these, and it grabs the faces over here. I'm going to hold Shift and click and drag, so now I have those parts selected. And then what I would do is I'd switch the camera that is perpendicular to it, which in this case is this way. And then I just go to UV, and I'll just do planar. I'm going to hit the option box. I'm going to make sure it's on camera. That means that it's going to do it based off of where I'm currently looking through. I'll hit project, and then that will lay those out, okay? Now, because they're over top of each other, you can see it's kind of a little bit weird. So what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to tap spacebar, I'm going to go ahead and I have this selected. I'm going to go up here. Where are you? Right here. And this will try to fit all of this little button here. Tries to fit all of these into this as best it can. And then that part's done. Voila. So that's one piece done. So I'll just hit Shift I with nothing selected, and I'll go on to the next one. All right. So I'm just going to try to do a little bit of each one. So if I look at this little piece here, this looks sort of okay. So what I can do is, I just want to see what this looks like. All right. So it's kind of a box. And let me find something else that's a little bit more complicated than that. We'll say this one. Okay. So I'm going to take this one and hit Shift I just so I isolate it. But it's more or less kind of planar, right? It's got this side, and that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and break that up as much as possible. So the easiest way, I think, to grab this in the way I want is I'm going to go to Faces. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold Shift and double click so it grabs that band all the way around, okay? Because I want to project this way. And then I'm just going to make sure it's got all of the pieces that I need. So I'll click here. This thing is really lagging here. I'm going to hold Shift and double click here, which did not do what I was hoping for. Oops, did not mean to do that. Control Z. So I'm going to have to just manually click these, which is sort of crummy. And I'm just going to go around and like that. Okay. And these two. Okay. Alright. Good. And over here. Anything that's not running in the plane that I plan on projecting from, I'm just getting rid of. Okay, so same thing here. I'm going to hold Shift and double click so it goes all the way around. Click here, hold Shift and double click so it'll go all the way around. Grabbing all of these inside pieces here. And this, and double click so it goes all the way around. Hang on one sec. Okay. So I'm going to hold this, double click. Okay. Double click. Here. There we go. Boom. Okay. I'm just trying to go all the way around all the pieces that I don't need. Looks like that's already, oh, never mind. Boom. 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 Alright, so it's all these parts that are not part of it. Okay. Alright, this is kind of a lot of selecting. Alright. Boom. I'm going to double click so it goes all the way around. And I'll click here, double click, it'll go all the way around. Here, double click, it'll go all the way around. Here, double click, it'll go all the way around. Here, double click, go all the way around. Here, and the next one in a row. Right, so you're probably seeing a commonality here. Okay, and that should be, oh, we gotta grab this. Good, okay. So now if you look, I have everything selected but this one. So this is the actual one that I wanted anyway. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Shift, click and drag. And now that's the only part that is selected is the one, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like the ones that are facing this direction. So I'm going to click over here, after frame it, there it is. So I'm going to go to UV, and this is going to be a planar map, all right? Just like we did before. It's already set to camera now, so it's very good. And that, all right, so now if you look, you can see it, it should have laid out the UVs, hopefully, on just those pieces there. That I had selected. It's acting a little bit weird, so let me go back to object mode. Okay, so I'm just going to UV, I'm just going to control right click, go to shell, and I'm just going to take this, and I'm just going to move it over here, okay? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to undo to where I still had it. There we go, still had it selected. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to move this over here. Okay, so I put my UV shell over there. It's a little bit easier. I'm going to scale this a little too, so it's a little closer to what it is over here. Great. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to face, and I'm going to click and drag all of these ones, which are basically the other ones. Now to do this one is a little bit weird because it's actually, again, it's two axes. Like there's the one that goes, the one that's going this direction, and the ones that make sense going from the top. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it all from the top, and then we'll just kind of see. So I'm going to F. So I got all the top ones selected. I'm going to do the same thing. UV. I'm going to go planar. All right, and I'm going to scale this down a little bit this way. Maybe pull this over here. All right, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to kind of click in. Actually, I don't need to click on all drag. I'm going to click this button up here. All right, make sure we're in UV mode. Click and drag. Now I'm going to go like this, and it's going to fit all those pieces in there as best as possible. Okay. Now, what you may notice is some of it isn't as great as it could be. UV, so I'm going to go to this Move UV Shell tool here. So basically what it allows you to do is grab whole UV shells. So I'm just going to click, and each one of these are a UV island, and I can kind of move them. I think what I'm going to try and do is this. Let's go to object mode. I have this selected. I'm going to try to click on it again and see if that, no, see, it's not doing that great of a job. Usually does a little bit better of a job than what it's doing now. So let's try grabbing this. Yeah, it's just not. Oh well. So anyway, we're gonna call that semi good for now. All right, so that would be something like that. I'm gonna Shift I, get rid of that, and then the next would basically be maybe a spherical, right? So this would actually be best to do as a planar. Okay, so you know what? We're gonna go ahead and try and make this better. All right. So some of this is working better than other pieces. All right. Obviously, if you have something that's spherical, use a spherical. If you have something that's planar, use a planar. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna try and make this a little bit easier to work with here. Okay. So I'm gonna go and make sure I have that UV tool thing selected and move this over. All right. I'm just gonna try and basically separate each one of these pieces. Even though it's being unbelievably slow. I'm not sure why the computer's being quite so slow. Come on, that's the one I'm clicking on. Nope. Alright, let's try it again. There we go. Alright. And I'm basically just trying to get all of this so it's not all on top of each other. You do not want them on top of each other. This thing actually should do a much better job than what it was showing. Usually it's not an issue. So I'm going to do is just separate all this. I'm going to pause it and separate it, and then I'll come. All right, so I got it more or less separated from each, like things aren't overlapping anymore. So I'm just going to show you something. So I'm just going to like W or something, and then I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to face. So W, Q, W, E, or R, any one of those would work. So I'm going to, so I'm looking at this piece, and it looks kind of weird. So I'm going to click and drag across it, and then actually I'll do this one so you can see it better. You can see it's this piece right here, right? So that's what it's currently on. But that does not look like that, right? It's not even a close approximation. So what I'm going to do is, while I have that still selected, I'm just going to go to UV. I'm going to go automatic. It's only going to automatically do that one chunk. And that will, I'm going to hit W to get the move tool. Put it over here. That will make it into like separate chunks and stuff, right? So that's all great. But again, this is a lot of chunks when really a lot of this should be connected together, okay? So to do that, I'm going to go to Edge. And I'm going to select an edge. And what you're going to notice is, see how it highlights this one here? It's because these are sharing this edge. That's this edge here. So it's where this piece is meeting that piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to Tool. And I'm just going to go, actually, I'm going to go to Polygons. And we're going to go to, where are you? Move and Sew UV Edges. All right. And that pops right there. I'm going to click on this one. And you can see it highlights right there. I'm going to hit G because it was the last thing I did. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit G. Okay. That didn't work so well. So let's see what happened. I would have thought that would have went there. So let's try this one. Oops. Okay, and G. Oh, there it goes. I'm not sure what happened. So I'm going to click this one. All right. So that's not working that great. So I'm going to click on this. See how it's highlighting there? So what I would do is just keep clicking on ones and see if they highlight anything that makes sense. So see, there's nothing in here. So I'm going to hit this one. I'll hit G. I'm going to click on this one. G. All right, let's try that again. G, there it goes. And then I'm going to click on this one and hit G. G again. Okay. Only have that at once. But now you can see that this basically is this long line, and then it has the little piece that comes out, which is right here. And then this is that one that's going all the way around. So now I have this as one whole piece. Okay. Which works out kind of nice. So it's one chunk. And basically that's what you do. So you're just going to go through and you'll sew pieces together. That makes sense. And when you get ones that are kind of all wibbly wobbly, just go select them and just do automatic mapping and then try to sew them together like this. All right. Good luck.